Welcome to this episode of Ask the Guitar Coach, the only podcast where you get answers to all your guitar-related questions. If you're interested in developing your guitar skills and reaching your music goals, please send me an email at the email address ioannis@ioannis.org. That is IOANNIS at IOANNIS.org, so that I can let you know about all the different packages of elite guitar coaching and how you can get private coaching by me. Without further ado, let's go to our question for the day. 5 absolutely wrong pieces of advice on learning and playing guitar. So this time, for this episode, I decided to assemble a few questions and comments I've had from previous YouTube videos and then put them together in creating a short list of 5 absolutely totally wrong pieces of advice on learning and playing guitar. This is stuff that's usually commonly referred to and talked about a lot in guitar circles, especially beginners and intermediates, and it has one thing in common. As I said, it's totally wrong. So let's get started. Number 1, don't learn theory because you're gonna sound like everybody else. Absolutely wrong. Definitely, this is not the case. This is like saying don't learn like grammar because you're gonna sound like everybody else. I've made a complete video on it, so I'm not gonna elaborate on it more. Definitely learn your theory. Now, if you're playing contemporary music and you're playing rock music, you don't need to learn classical theory, but there are a few things about theory that you need to learn, and it's going to help you on both understanding what you're playing and also help you a lot with your compositions if you plan to compose music yourself. So definitely wrong. Definitely learn theory. Number 2, only buy new guitar. Absolutely not. Definitely always buy used guitar. Well, always might be a strong word, but I always lean towards getting a used guitar. Why is that? Because I actually get the double guitar for my money. So if I buy a guitar with a recommended retail price of $1,000, I get the guitar that costs $1,000. But if I buy a used guitar for $1,000, usually I get a guitar that new would cost $2,000, so I get double the bang for my buck. So it's double the value. Personally, I always suggest to my students to buy a used guitar because it's the first person who bought the guitar that lost most of the value, and then you're basically just taking advantage of that situation. Not of the person, you're not taking advantage of anybody, but usually guitars that are used are sold on around 50 to 60% of their full market value, like recommended retail price value, so it makes perfect sense to buy a used guitar. Let's move on to number 3. Number 3, you should learn classical guitar before learning electric. Okay, I really don't think I can even count how many times I've heard that, and it's not just hearing it. Even people that don't play guitar, that they have not even grabbed the guitar and never played a note, feel very strongly about it, and they feel they need to argue that with professional players. I have no idea why this happens, but I know why people think that they should learn classical first. Just because something came before, it gives the impression that, oh, this is where it all started. And it's true. Everything started with nylon string instrument. Actually, it was not even nylon string, it was gut string at the time, so it gets really complicated. Long story short, we've made videos on that specific thing. There is no reason for you to learn classical before you learn electric. So and then the question comes, if I learn classical, won't I be better at learning electric? Okay, I'll make it very simple. Let's say you are going to have 3 years before you start to learn to play electric guitar. Now, if the option is to do nothing during those 3 years or to learn classical during those 3 years, yes, learn classical. It will help you a little bit fix your left hand. It will help you to learn about the notes and how to memorize music, and it will help your ear. But if the option was for 3 years to learn electric directly or to learn classical and then go to electric, absolutely, with no reservation, learn electric directly. If you live in a place where there's no decent electric guitar teacher, you should start having online lessons. Nowadays, it's very strong and well-known communities of online guitar lessons. Is going to help you much more than just learning classical guitar. Once again, if your goal is to play electric, okay? There's no need to graduate to electric from classical. Number 4, you should learn by yourself. No need to go for learn guitar with a teacher. Okay, we have mentioned this like a million times in this channel. I feel bad even just mentioning it again. This is totally stupid. There is absolutely no reason why you should need to reinvent the wheel and waste years on learning things that a good teacher will teach you in just a few months. So I'm not going to even go into more detail. Just know that this does not work like that. The argument is always that, but this and this player were self-taught. Okay, first of all, you have to examine what self-taught means in this subject. Like several people say that they are self-taught, but their older brother was a really good player or their dad was a really good player. So they were always listening to him and he was always showing them stuff. So basically they had a 24/7 available guitar teacher, they just were not paying him, and this was because of their family situation. So it's not exactly clear what being self-taught means in those cases. Second, there is a small amount, a small percentage of players, of people that are really good at self-teaching. And it can work. I've seen it. It's a small percentage, maybe around 2%, but it happens. Personally, if I had a 2% chance at something or 98% at the same thing, I would tend to put my money at what is 98% chance to win. Maybe that's just me and everybody else is like, you're smarter and you want to do for the 2%. It's okay. However, I would personally say that this is actually stupid, and in one of the videos I just shot for this channel, I mentioned very clearly about like the 1 year that when I was learning, I had to stay without having guitar lessons and how I totally regret that. Every other time I was always having guitar lessons, but this was only for 1 year. So definitely I would say you should do it this way. Get a teacher. And moving on to the final one, number 5. And this is a huge myth of the whole guitar community, which goes like that. You should use older gear, meaning guitars, amps, even pedals, because it just sounds better. This is wrong. As years go by, the processes of making the electronics, of making the equipment, everything becomes more refined. So, with the possible exception of a few specific guitar woods that are now more difficult to get, everything else is of better quality than it was 20, 30, 40, 50 or 60 years ago when the electric guitar was becoming more popular. So this absolutely is not true. Now, is it possible for someone to prefer a specific sound of older electronics? Yes, this is absolutely okay. You can prefer a specific sound, but that doesn't make it better. You have to be able to define what better means. Is it clearer? Is it larger headroom? What does it mean to be better? And whatever this is, it's not true for older equipment. The microphones were not just as good. The ways to record the music was not as good. There was a lot of stuff going bad, going wrong, and now things are much better, much less expensive, much easier to acquire, and much easier to use, frankly. So don't worry about using older gear because it's better. If you do prefer it, do use it, but it's not necessarily better. So there you have it. 5 pieces of advice that are absolutely wrong about learning and playing guitar. I hope this was helpful. and will help clear some misunderstandings that usually go around in beginner and intermediate guitar circles. And I will see you on the next episode of Ask the Guitar Coach. Until then, keep sending me your questions and I'll make sure I answer them in upcoming videos. Bye bye.